Let's bring Walter Volker back to the stage, just for a couple of opening remarks and words. Would you give Walter a round of applause, please?
Thank you.
Morning, sir. Just, yeah, we were chatting a little bit earlier this morning over a very early morning coffee. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you about the event so far, Walter, is do you think now, having heard this from a lot of delegates yesterday, that PASA should be doing a conference now every 2 years instead of every 3 years?
Good question. No, I think I've had quite a few that insist that we should hold it more regularly. The reason we do it every 3 years is, first of all, we're quite a small team. And so it takes, I mean, you can imagine, it takes a lot of resources to put something like this together. The second one was we also thought, do the payments trends change so dramatically in a year? So we thought 3 years is a good time. But obviously, if we can change the resourcing angle, maybe every second year could be feasible. I don't know. We'll take it one step at a time. I'm certainly thinking quite seriously of doing it every second year, and I'd love to get your feedback on it. I think it'll be great to hear.
Should we take a quick vote?
Yeah, it'd be great.
If you think it should be every 3 years, first of all, every 3 years, would you just put your hand up for us? Not many hands. Every two, oh, there's one, two at the back. Okay, 3 or 4. Those of you who'd like to have it every 2 years, look at that, instant market research. Who'd like to come back next month? Yeah, a couple of hands as well, so there's certainly a trend within that.
All right, so it looks like the vote is every 2 years. We'll aim for 2 years from now, and then we'll see from there, if it's going to do, if it'll ever be feasible to do it every year. I don't know, but I think let's aim for 2 years from now.
I mean, I think to be fair, you've talked about the pace of change this morning as well. The pace of change is a little bit crazy at the moment, as we saw yesterday, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be hearing about today as well. Do you think, in all fairness, and maybe this is a biased question, forgive me, but do you think PASA is keeping up with the pace of change?
I think to some extent, look, PASA is really, to some extent, the sum of all the players in the payment system. So it's not just about the core PASA team, it's about all our members. And as we saw yesterday, for example, Standard Bank is very deeply involved in experimenting with the blockchain, as are other banks. So I think the collective of the industry, if you look at all the various players, the banks, some of the retailers, I certainly think South Africa as a payments industry is right up there. I mean, we often speak to our counterparts. I formally speak to them once every year. We get together internationally with our colleagues, and I certainly would think that in terms of our initiatives, we are right up there. Sometimes I'd like to do things at an industry level more proactively, but certainly we're aware of what's going on. Yes, I would certainly say that.
I mean, I was intrigued yesterday with the blockchain scenario, but also, the aspect of biometrics. And we're South Africans, but we're leading the way again in biometrics. Were you impressed by that?
I certainly was. So I think biometrics has come a long way. And by the way, it's not on the agenda formally on this conference, but a little bit later we're going to have a media release where we're announcing to basically the South African media, but also to the world, that South Africa has been instrumental in achieving a global standard on biometrics verification for cardholders. I mean, that's a world first. So for years, we've seen the development of biometric technology, but it's never been properly unlocked because we couldn't get an interoperable standard. And today, we're going to announce the interoperable standard, a first that South Africa facilitated, obviously with the cooperation of Visa and MasterCard, which makes it a truly global standard. So that's going to be an announcement today in the media. And I think probably a little bit too early to put it on the program, but certainly a breakthrough, I think, that we can be very proud of.
So we're certainly talking industry change as well. It would be, again, remiss of me if I didn't mention the opening remarks from the podium here yesterday. The Deputy Governor of the South African Reserve Bank had some fairly harsh things to say about change and transformation inside PASA. I think it's only fair that we ask you to respond to those comments. How do you think, overall, PASA and the industry at a broader level is doing in terms of change and transformation?
I think that's a very good question. We do have to seriously reflect on what the Deputy Governor said. And I think it's the easiest place to be critical and to challenge us and to push the boundaries. After all, the Reserve Bank is the regulator and ultimately Deputy Governor Groep is our boss. I think it's a logical point because this year we're also celebrating 2 decades of PAS's existence, so we're 20 years old. And as you know, a little bit later we're going to have a panel talking about the history and about bits of the journey of how we got here. But for me, the challenge that the Deputy Governor put before us is the road ahead, the next decade or two. And I certainly welcome what he is expecting from us to do, which is opening up PASA to a broader membership, so broader than the Banks Club. We have to open up because PASA, payments is very different today than it was in 1996 when we were founded. Yeah. So in those days, payments was a bank's activity. Today, if you look at all the organizations that are involved in the payments value chain, there are a lot of non-banks doing a lot of really good things, and they have to become part of the club. I think the issue of governance, good corporate governance, is a theme that you're hearing all over. We have to get that right. We have to get innovation right. So there's a whole lot of themes that the Deputy Governor mentioned that we certainly really welcome, and we
so
are up
in case
to the
of
challenge.
watch this space.
Absolutely. I think we're going to see a very different PASA in 2 years' time when we have this conference again. I think we're going to see a very different PASA, a very different industry in 2 years' time.
I love that immediate response there. You see, it's already a firm decision now. In 2 years' time, when we regroup, it'll be a different story. One of the things about opening up that's intrigued me, though, as well is, I mean, as an industry, we're incredibly open to the international trends and what's going on. And I think that's been reflected very strongly in the agenda, both yesterday and today as well.
Yeah.
A good international presence.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the great things about the conference is that we've got some of the best speakers in the world talking about topics here. I think you'd agree with me. It's not second-rate speakers. We've got some of the best. And I'm not just saying those who flew in. Yes, I mean, absolutely, top-notch speakers, the best in the world. But even the local speakers, the people that we've chosen to speak here, are some of the best in the world. I'm just thinking of Craig Bond.
Well, his heart rate's just increased dramatically now. No pressure, Craig. You know,
So Craig is going to talk about world trends in payments, and I mean, Craig has been involved in payments for many years. Don't want to say how long, Craig. But I think you can talk about the rest as well. I listened in on quite a few of the breakaway sessions, and I think they were all top-notch, really high-quality speakers, really in-depth insight into what's happening. So you know, I think that's what makes this conference a success, is the really top-notch speakers that we've got, global
personal highlights for you from yesterday?
You know, I must say, one of the biggest highlights for me of the conference so far was the network opportunity. I don't know if you agree. I mean, for me, it's just so great to get 600 people from the South African payments industry together and to be able to network. For me, that was so fantastic. Sometimes you wonder, why is everybody not going into the breakaway sessions? And it's because they're really interacting well, enjoying the interaction. Sometimes you haven't seen a person for maybe a few years even, and it's good to catch up. Other people you've seen last week, but you want to talk about the latest trends. So that was definitely a highlight for me. And I must say, the feedback I got from so many of you about how you're enjoying the conference, how you're enjoying the topics, how you're enjoying the interaction, that is fantastic. So as a result of that positive feedback, I'm also really thoroughly enjoying the conference.
Awesome. Certainly, I've had a great deal of delegate feedback from you as well, and it's been a joy to hear. I think I want to thank Walter, but perhaps I could ask us all to do that, ladies and gentlemen. Let's show our appreciation to the PASA team who've put this event together under the stewardship. Thank you so much. Right, have a great morning.
Thank you.
Enjoy it. And I know the rest of us are going to do exactly